Hi everyone, today I thought I'd just review some of the stocks that reported earnings this week. Obviously I'm recording this on Thursday, so if any stocks reported earnings on Friday, then they won't be featured in this channel at all. A couple of stocks that I really looked at and I thought, wow, that was a little bit interesting, or some little bit of some movers overall, and some opinions about them stocks after reported earnings. So I'm going to get into a few of them right now. Also on Sunday, what's going to happen is I'm going to record a video on stocks that are reporting earnings that week that I'm really interested in, that I think will be really useful for you guys. But I'm going to talk about stocks that reported earnings that have just gone this week overall, and some that were quite interesting. So the big one that I thought I'd talk about is JNJ. Obviously this is a stock that I actually own shares in right now. I invested in this company because I thought it was a really steady company. It was down a little bit because of the the news that came out that there was asbestos in the baby powder, which can cause cancer. So because of that, the stock was down big time. Now it's really important to say that these are just charges that have been accused. They've never been proven. It's been going on for quite a few years. It's just that recently someone actually won a case against this, against Johnson & Johnson. Previous cases that have been charged against Johnson & Johnson have never been approved in court. So that's something really important to say. But because of that, the stock went down big time, and that's when I got into the stock. Overall, the earnings were a beat. The 2019 sales were going to be in line. I think few people were looking for raised guidance overall for Johnson & Johnson. The stock was down 1%, so it didn't move hugely overall. But, you know, it's a steady company, Johnson & Johnson, and that's why I got into it overall. I think that overall in long term it'll just go up steady. It's got a nice dividend growth, and Johnson & Johnson is never going to push the boat out and say we're going to do this overall. That's why I'm in the stock overall. It's just generally a nice stock that goes up over time. LRCX was up 15%. It had an EPS beat, and there was a revenue were pretty much in line, but he said that margins were better than expected overall. We've seen this with quite a few chip makers overall, so it'll be interesting when it gets around to the big one of Nvidia and AMD. Those are the two ones I'm going to be watching. Interestingly though, Intel missed theirs, which we'll get onto, but LRCX said 2019 is still going to be a choppy year for them, but because of the margins being very good, they had very good EPS, and this stock's beaten down massively. It is one of the kind of semiconductor stocks that I'm watching big time. Them and Nvidia are really interesting me right now. So it was good to see them do really well, but they said that 2019 still might be quite a rough year for them overall. We'll get on to Intel, that actually was down 8% in pre-market. We had a big revenue miss on their side of it. They said that one of the main causes for that was the chips for the cloud providers were down big time, and because of this also we had a guidance cut as well on Intel. Like I say, when a guidance cut happens, that really does affect the stock in Intel. Intel for me, like, I probably would never get into the stock until it was like down towards its 52-week low. When you've got a lot of better companies in that sector, if I'm honest, I really like, compared to them, I like Nvidia and I like LRCX, especially Nvidia down in the long term because of what they're doing in the AI sector. But for the people that do like Intel, you know, it is a pretty decent PE compared to a few of them. So we've got a nice PE with them. The revenue growth isn't as much, but there's a nice dividend in Intel. So if you are a bit of a dividend stockholder, then maybe this discount will tempt you into Intel overall. But for me, you know, I don't know if it's my favourite stock in that sector overall. We had American Airlines, which is a stock that I've been looking into quite recently. They actually went up 6%. They had bottom line beats of all of their EPS and revenue side of it. Everything pretty much was a nice little beat on everything that they reported. They also said that they're not going to raise guidance overall, but it was very upbeat that it's probably going to be towards the top side of the guidance that they were offering. So that really, like, the investors really did like that overall. When I looked into American Airlines, what I do really like about it is the PE. The PE is extremely low for that stock, and it's a nice dividend hold as well. So I probably won't invest into the stock, but if you are looking into a dividend position, that was a really interesting report overall. So if you were holding American Airlines into that earnings report, I'm sure you're pretty chuffed right now. My last one overall, we've got Starbucks, which did go up 1% in pre-market, but overall EPS. I've got a really interesting video about Starbucks coming up in next week, I think it is. But that's a really interesting video that I'm going to make on Starbucks. But Starbucks was up 1%. It had EPS and revenue beats. Same store sales were up 4%, which was really good because we were only expecting around 2.3%, I think it was. China sales were strong, more stores opening overall, which is a good earnings report for Starbucks. You know, they've really turned it around overall. This is the best growth we've seen from Starbucks for a while. If I was a dividend player, you know, that would be a very strong position that I might look at taking up. But I like to have a little bit more growth than what Starbucks offered. But their earnings were pretty decent overall. And for it to only go up 1% off that, I thought it would go up a little bit higher, to be honest with you. But I was really impressed with their earnings report and how they're doing this year overall. But like I say, I've got a big video on Starbucks coming up at some point soon. So wait for that one when I do make it. And those are some stocks, guys, that reported earnings this week that I just wanted to talk about slightly overall. Let me know if there's any stocks that you were watching into earnings that did really well. Those are just some that I picked out, and I'll probably do a few next week about some of the stocks that reported earnings overall. I'm also doing a preview for next week's earnings on Sunday. Thanks for all the support recently, guys. It's amazing, the likes, the subscribers. So many new subscribers overall. Really enjoy making these videos, so keep it up, guys. Thank you for all that, and I'll see you on the next video.